So this is the vision that we have. By joining together, immigrant families, educators, and district leaders, we can ensure that SCPSS is a place where all immigrant communities feel welcome. Entonces, esta es la visión que tenemos. Trabajando juntos, las familias inmigrantes, los educadores, los líderes del distrito, trabajando todos juntos, podemos asegurarnos de que el sistema educativo de Chattam County sea un lugar donde todos los inmigrantes y la comunidad se sientan bienvenidas. If we join together, we can make sure that our public schools provide the resources immigrant families need to thrive. When it's not always their job to translate, right? And so we want the system to take care of the teachers and to not exploit them. And also we want them to invest more on this so that we can get more people to feel welcome and bilingual people to feel like their talents will be put to good use when they work for the SCPSS. During the meetings, they don't offer someone to interpret for the parents. So oftentimes when parents go and the meeting is in English, how is that part of diversity and inclusion when you don't offer interpretation services for people who don't speak the language, right?
Okay, that in itself seems a little bit ridiculous considering the large number of Spanish-speaking people we have in the county. Mm-hmm. Is it kind of shocking to you that hasn't even been addressed yet?
Right, yeah. No, it was not in the school board meeting, but the Senate meeting that happened back in September. In order for us, like we took the time to train Spanish-speaking parents on how to testify in front of these politicians, but we had to hire our own interpreter to come with our team and with them so that they could make sure that the issues and obstacles that they were facing, they had like the voice to speak. Oftentimes the system says that they're the voiceless. I don't think that the Hispanics or the immigrant community are voiceless. They do have a voice. What happens is the system doesn't put in place the tools necessary for these people to use their voice. Right? They have a voice. Their voice is in Spanish, and the system has an ear that it's in English, and they don't hire translators. They don't prioritize that as a need. And we want the system to not think of immigrants as a second thought or at the last moment. We want them to prioritize immigrant families when it comes to decision-making meetings. Or we see that the system does try to put out content in Spanish, right? Information. But we want this information to also be in Spanish during decision-making meetings, such as the school board, or when they're deciding who will be the superintendent of SCPSS.
Estamos acá en Savannah apoyando a las familias. Le quiero agradecer por estar aquí y advocando por las familias que necesitan más apoyo, los niños. Es muy importante que nosotros le digamos a las escuelas qué nos hace falta, que paren de ignorarnos y paren de hacernos a un lado. Estamos aquí. ¿Usted qué quisiera ver diferente en las escuelas?
Bueno, sobre todo, primero, gracias por esta invitación. Vine acompañando a una amiga. Me pareció una parte muy importante, es un tema que toma mucha relevancia y sobre todo por cada uno de los testimonios que escuché. Es muy importante este trabajo ya que las familias requieren esa apertura, sobre todo por sus hijos. Creo que la educación es un punto clave en este movimiento que están generando y sobre todo hay que crear esa conciencia en las instituciones, en las escuelas, de poco a poco darle esa apertura. Es por el bien de los niños y sobre todo por el crecimiento de cada uno de ellos.
Sí, es verdad, es invertir en el futuro de ellos.
Así es, más que nada es una inversión que a largo plazo va a traer frutos. No lo veamos como un gasto, al contrario, es una inversión que debemos de hacer en cada uno de ellos y sobre todo en el bienestar que se está buscando para ellos.
Sí, señor.
Sobre todo que es la educación.
Sí, señor, es verdad.
Estoy aquí apoyándola en esta cuestión, acompañándola y sobre todo ver el crecimiento que están teniendo y sobre todo el trabajo que están haciendo en beneficio de la comunidad latina.
Sí, señor. So, vamos a seguir adelante y vamos a apoyar a Migrant Equity SouthEast y a los padres. Gracias.
Claro.
Sí, estamos aquí hoy en Chattam County y estamos hablando con los padres. Primero le quiero agradecer a usted por estar aquí y advocar por los niños, nuestra comunidad. También le quiero preguntar a usted, como madre que se interesa por el bienestar de los niños en este condado escolar, ¿usted qué quiere ver diferente?
Yo soy madre, primero que nada, soy madre de un niño. Pues yo sí he tenido mucha barrera con el idioma y por eso estoy aquí, precisamente para que haya un cambio, porque ya ha sido una barrera muy grande para mí y no quiero que eso siga pasando ni conmigo ni con otros papás que a veces tampoco ni tienen la manera de acceder ni siquiera se acercan a las escuelas por lo mismo de la barrera del idioma. Sí. Y eso más que nada, que seamos escuchados y que realmente se lleve a cabo lo que estamos proponiendo. Y no por tener la barrera del idioma no vamos a motivar a nuestros niños a seguir adelante estudiando.
Right. Sí, es verdad. Eso no nos va a parar porque nosotros somos gente poderosa y triunfante. Eso no nos va a parar, pero es obligación de los condados a que ellos nos den los recursos que nosotros merecemos.
Claro que sí, ellos piensan que por el hecho de la barrera precisamente del idioma creen que no tenemos conocimiento de muchas cosas, creen que somos ignorantes, mas sin embargo no es así.
Hey, I'm Lena Ali. I'm an advocacy director with Migrant Equity SouthEast. I was born in Savannah, Georgia. I'm a Palestinian. I've lived in Palestine 10 years of my life. Always came back to Savannah though.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's so awesome. Explain a little bit more about what you do.
So as an advocacy coordinator, I've been doing a lot of different things. Some of it has to do with Georgia's legislative process and system. So we've made a few trips up to Atlanta, going to the Capitol, talking to representatives and senators and legislators, and advocating for the immigrant community in South Georgia, rural Georgia too. Mm-hmm. And just letting them know that there are some of their constituents, whether they can vote or not, are still in need of a lot of governmental assistance, and they shouldn't be forgotten by their legislators of the state that they're living in.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. And I want to thank you for your work, you and your team. Y'all are everywhere advocating for all of our people. And what people fail to realize is that immigration actually impacts everybody. So I want to encourage you to continue the great job that you're doing and your team. Thank you. You're doing a phenomenal job. And I also want to ask you, now I'm pumped. I'm hearing what you're doing and I was like, how can I get involved? How would you like us to help you?
So yeah, follow our social medias on Facebook too, Migrant Equity SouthEast, and see what events we have coming up and try to join us. We do a lot of community events. Okay. And also just try to stay alert of Georgia legislative stuff, and if you have the ability to vote, try to make sure you're voting in a way that supports the immigrant community.
Yes, that's in favor, correct. And we'll go ahead and keep track and see all the great things that you're doing and support you. Make sure to follow Migrant Equity SouthEast on all social media platforms.